So without any more delay, I want a huge round of applause for Peter Avis.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Oh, that's a big welcome, by the way. Thank you very much. I'm not an estate agent, obviously, and I am a restaurant manager. And I just want to say a massive thanks to the 𝗣𝗏𝗏 team for inviting me up to speak to you today. It's been quite an incredible journey, as you can see. And I just wanted to come today and just share my story. I'm not going to come with slides, I'm not going to come with graphs because I'm not good at them, I'm not good at PowerPoint. But I just wanted to share my journey and really talk to you about how I've got where I am through hard work, through dedication, and also how similar, and listening to Fiona and some of the other speakers today, our sectors are so similar. In fact, I think I could be an estate agent. So anyone at the end, we can have a chat. So where it all began for me, I'm obviously from Liverpool. I'm from Everton, so anyone that saw the match of the day, shut up. But I am from Liverpool, and I didn't get a very academic education. I wasn't very good at school. Didn't, like a lot of people, have a lot of direction of where I was going to go in my life. So spent a lot of time on my little council estate, not knowing what I was going to do. When I was leaving school, my headmaster, when I wanted to redo my exams, my headmaster actually said some people are meant to sweep the streets and you're one of them, unfortunately, which wasn't very motivational for a 16-year-old lad. Anyway, I've got a sister who's gorgeous looking, and she got a modelling contract in Miami. And that was a life-changing experience for me, because also we went to Miami for 3 weeks, and she rang me on the public phone box outside the pub, and she said, "Avis, guess what? There's palm trees, there's sea, it's gorgeous, I'm staying." And I was like, "Watch that, come over for a couple of weeks and visit me." And there I was on the plane from Manchester Airport, and ended up in Miami going, "Oh my God, it's real." And yeah, I was like, "Oh my God." And then basically what happened, I'll be honest with you, is I got a job in construction, and I wasn't really good at it on the roof in Miami in my white Reebok Classics. Going, "Oh, look at her." I was like, "This is so not for me." I was like, "Look at her," you know. And actually, they didn't actually pay me. The people I was working for wasn't paying me, so I was like, "Okay, I'm on Miami Beach, I've got this break, but I'm not getting paid, and I don't want to go back to Liverpool. What am I going to do?" And thank God again, 𝗍𝗏𝗏, being who she was, got a few mates out there. And she said, "Look, I've spoke to me mate Nick, he owns a really nice restaurant, and he said he could do with someone to wash the dishes." And I was like, "I'll do anything, you know." So I took this job as a dishwasher. I said, "I'll go and do it." She said, "Okay, you're just going to start at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning." Went to this restaurant. Now, the biggest lesson I learned from that was on my first day, I arrived at this restaurant, first thing in the morning, my flip-flops to wash the dishes. And Nick, the owner of the restaurant, come up to me and said, "Oh my God, you must be Peter," in the American accent. And I said, "Yeah, I'm Peter." He went, "Let's have a chat." And what he did to this, I was 17, I wasn't even 18 at the time, and he said, "Peter, come and have a coffee with me." And he took 10 minutes of his schedule of his day, and he sat down and he said, "You know, the dishes are really important." He said, you know, they're what our guests eat from, and it's a big representation of our restaurant. He said, "So you've got to wash these dishes well." And I was like, "I'm going to wash these dishes like he's never seen." Because I'm not going back to Liverpool, do you know what I mean? So I was washing the dishes every day, and there was, I mean, to this day, and this is over 20 years ago now, I can remember there was a structure, there was a feeling of a nice warm cup of tea in the morning, this little 10-minute chat. He was going round, he was the leader of it was his restaurant, obviously, and that stuck with me. You know, and to this day, which I'll talk a little bit about in my business today, I use the Nick experience to this day and believe it's a huge part of our success where I am today. Anyway, God's honest truth, I want to be the kitchen manager. I'm thinking I'm going to be the top. I've been there for about 2 months. And I come in this day, and Nick again, "Peter, put this black shirt on." I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Well, the commie waiter's called in sick." So the commie waiter is the guy that takes the food from the kitchen to the guest. He said, "You've got to take the food out." And again, he took me on the restaurant floor, shows me the table numbers, and I'm thinking, "Oh my God, I'm not worthy, I can't do this, take the food out, you know." And I remember taking the chicken and the beef out to the table in Farm Beach, and I'm like, "So, Mum, you having the chicken?" She went, "Oh my God, where's your accent from?" I said, "Oh, I'm from Liverpool." And she said, "Oh, do you know the Beatles?" And I said, "Oh yeah, Paul McCartney's my uncle." Oh my God, Paul McCartney's his uncle. God's honest truth. So then I'm having this chat, because obviously I like to talk, and I'm going, "Oh yeah, blah, blah, blah." And I told him I was joking, but I can feel Nick behind me, this manager. And I thought, "Oh, damn, I'm fired. Here you go again, messed up your life, back to Liverpool." And I went back, and I went to apologise to Nick, and I went, "Nick," he went, come, he said, you've got the people skill. You're going to go very far. You're a new commie waiter. And I'm like, no, I want to be a kitchen manager. He said, Peter, you've got a career here. This is where we need. And he coached me. And again, he took time with me because he could see I was nervous and I wasn't good. I know it sounds silly, but I wasn't good with the table numbers and stuff because I have this mad way with numbers and I couldn't really get it all. Anyway, become the commie waiter. And I worked really hard there, and from being the commie waiter, I was soon become a waiter, and I was taking the orders, I was making tips, and then he opened another restaurant in Fort Lauderdale, and I got the job as the head waiter there. So just to compare to Strutton Park into an estate agency, I don't know how many people manage team here, like manage teams of people? Okay, so we're on the same page. And how many are starting at the more junior level at Strutton Park? So you guys can see that where I was at, it's similar that if you don't, what I'll say is don't ever underestimate that your managers are not watching, that they're not watching your performance. I've got 70 core staff that report into me, and I know who's on time, I know who I can rely on, even though they haven't got a clue. I can tell you right now what they're doing as I'm here, back at the restaurant. And I really can't, it's just become, you just know. And so Nick asked me to open his new restaurant in Fort Lauderdale. I did that, and to cut a long story short, after probably 2.5 years in total, me and my two sisters were there. I'm like, you know what, let's go to Vegas. So with these, you know, now we've got a bit of, we can do well here. So we ended up moving to Las Vegas, and I got a job at the MGM Grand Hotel, which is a massive hotel, I'm sure you all know, on Las Vegas Boulevard. And the amazing thing about the MGM, again, where I was really lucky, was that there was a fantastic training program in place. There was a great communication in place. You knew about the history. I mean, I remember the induction there went on for like 4 days. I'm thinking, oh my God, how are you meant to remember it all? But it was so informative and so needed as a new employee, then going into a more corporate type of environment to get the information that was needed. And I was there for nearly a year at the MGM Grand and did really well. And again, just the structure, the discipline, the importance of the company that they portrayed to the employees rubbed off on the staff, and you give a great service. Then, unfortunately, we got a call from my mum one day, and she was absolutely sobbing, and my mum's sister had died, and we left everything. I ended up back in Liverpool to be with my mum, me and my two sisters. We're on our way, let's go. And back in Liverpool then, that was in '96, there wasn't a lot of opportunities in hospitality, so I had to sign on the dole, and I thought, I can't do this, and I got the train to London with me £60, and I said to Ozzy, where's the posh part of London? She said, Kensington. So I got the train literally to Euston, got the tube to High Street Kensington with a suitcase, and went on High Street Kensington, turned right and found the Royal Garden Hotel, which is a big 5-star hotel. And I literally went in and said, any jobs? And they said, well, yeah, what are you looking for? I said, waiter. And they said, yeah, well, we're looking for waiters. It was when Euro 96, the football tournament was taking place. And they said, we have got waiter job, but you need to have silver service experience. And I said, worked in Miami, I can do silver service, and I'd never done silver service in my life. But I'll say, we were serving it with the chairman was 𝗣𝗿cie at the time, and I remember taking the melon and putting it on the plate because I couldn't silver serve. And the general manager, Graham Bamford, called me and I went, oh, there we go. And he went, you're meant to be silver serving? And I said, well, I can't silver serve. And he went, well, you've lied. And I got really defensive. I said, actually, I've exaggerated. I haven't lied. You know, I exaggerated, Mr. Bamford. Come on, give me a chance here. And he saw the passion and, again, that determination that I'm sure senior managers here today will get them young, you know, the viewers or the more junior ones coming in. A bit of exaggeration can be a good thing, so it shows a little bit of personality, you know, them little rough diamonds. And I got the job. Got the job anyway. And because of that, they put me on a training management course. And I did that for 2 years. And then I got a job at a restaurant, which was one of the worst restaurants I've ever been in my life. And it was how not to do it. There was no structure. The owners had millions and millions of Arabs, very rich Arab guys, and they had a lot of money, and the guys running it didn't know the people's name. They didn't have a structure for the restaurant. They didn't have any soul. And I just remember when you go in there, it was like walking into an empty house. There was no, you'd walk in the morning to have a morning meeting, and it was just like, this doesn't feel right. But I wanted it to work, and it didn't work. And then anyway, 14 years ago, I got a call off an Edinburgh to say Branson's opening a new restaurant he's built at the Roof Gardens. He's looking for someone half American, half European, in style of service. We think you'd be perfect. And I was like, me at the Roof Gardens? Because I worked at the Royal Garden, which was across the road before. I knew this really posh place with pink flamingos, and I was going, me in the Roof Gardens? But I went for the interview, and I got the job. And it was a massive turning point for me because at Virgin, we have there's a real soul and there's a real structure, and I can honestly say, just being here today, I can feel that in Strutton Parker, like just this communication, bringing teams of all levels together, transparency, sharing ideas and ideals were very evident in Babylon when I went to do the opening. However, the restaurant scene wasn't too happy that Sir Richard Branson's opening a fine dining restaurant, and he's not a restaurateur, and who's he to open a restaurant? So the critics weren't very kind to Babylon when we opened, and it got, you know, quite bad press and bad reviews. But I believed in this product, and I believed in what the company was doing as a corporation, and also my journey in hospitality I'd had from when I went to be a dishwasher through. I always remember thinking, but I could, if I ever become a manager proper, I could do this, I could implement these strategies. And it was such a mission for me. I mean, when we opened Babylon in 2001, our total revenue in year one was 465 net. We're now over 4 million a year net, which is a massive growth. And I cannot stress that I'm not an academic, I'm not academically intelligent, but I've got common sense, and what I mean by that, it's about service, and where service begins for me is not with the guest, it's with the staff, it's with my team, like Megan, who you're going to hear a few words from a bit later. It's about making your core team, so in your offices, like in my restaurant, I make sure I value my staff, I make sure we have like our family meal together, we sit down off 11 o'clock every morning with the team, and even if it's the day off, we encourage the staff to come in to have the meal with us. And it's really about bringing the team together and making them part of the business. Being transparent is another key element of Virgin and of Babylon. So when the chips are down, the team know what we need to do, how we're going to do it, and making the team involved. And it really frustrates me as a manager today when some businesses exclude the more maybe junior positions or maybe the more senior positions, and if you bring that gap together, them ideas can be so fulfilling for the business future. Babylon's gone on to huge success, and one of the other main reasons I think we're still having great success as a restaurant is because of the service we deliver to our teams, to our guests, and how we give back. And when I talk about giving back and charity, it's just not about giving money. It's about giving opportunity, and it's about creating awareness for others about the business you run. So one example of that I do is the Kids Company, which is a charity that helps underprivileged kids from the London area. But what Kids Company have is a young entrepreneurs course, and on this course it's 12 kids who've come from really maybe not the best upbringing, but they come with such great ideas and great concepts, and I mentor them 3 times a year, and I bring 12 of them into the restaurant and just sit and spend time with them. And from that I've employed 3 of their young people over the last 4 years, I think it's been. And they've become fully fledged members of my team, and they come with really good ideas, initiatives. And one young girl, 𝗍𝗿, for instance, that was a young entrepreneur from Kids Company, she was like, well, why don't you implement a cheese bar on the terrace? And that cheese bar we did implement, and it brings in so much revenue. So these ideas for your businesses and concepts can come from the strangest places sometimes, and that's something at Babylon that we do really well. Another similarity when it comes to service that I think is really important, and I think Fiona was speaking about the digital age and how important that is, and I think it's vital, and I think the cycle of digital, quote unquote, is really important. However, as she was also saying, the people interaction is also really important. I had one example as about 2.5, 3 years ago, I was in Babylon, as you do on a Saturday night, doing my thing, you know, in the lounge. And there was 2 girls having a drink in the lounge, and I got talking to them. I'm the restaurant manager, and I said, how are you ladies? Oh, we're fine, how are you? And I said, let me get you a seat, because they were stood up. And I sat with these 2 girls, and one of them turns out her boyfriend was a Liverpool fan, and that was the conversation. We got talking. And she said, you know what, I'm going to book a table with my boyfriend next week. And they came back for dinner. I didn't know Amanda from Adam, she was just a girl in the lounge. I noticed she had a lovely watch on, I must say, but that was what I remember. And then she came back with her boyfriend, I hosted them again. I remember she was drinking Lauren Perrier Rosé, so I sent 2 glasses to the table, attention to detail, sent her 2 glasses of the champagne, got talking, and they were saying they were getting married. Long story short, Amanda and her fiance booked our private island, Necker Island, for the wedding, which was a lot of money. You're talking at least £150,000. And this year, they've just celebrated their anniversary at our Casbah hotel in Morocco, which again is in thousands of pounds. Her husband now, Alex, is actually a huge digital entrepreneur worth quite a few million. just because they got genuine warm service from me in the bar one night. The word of mouth, she tells her boyfriend comes for dinner, they get the good service, it wasn't complacent service. They then give revenues to our group, which is Virgin Limited Edition, of in excess probably close to £200,000. And that all started from a drink in the lounge. So I think when it comes to you guys, whether, you know, at whatever level you are, that service you give, you can't underestimate what it can bring to your business. And again, the digital aspect of it is really important. But in our sector, I think where Strutton Parker and Babylon really marry is we're the top of the game, let's be honest. You know, Babylon is a multi-award winning restaurant, and Strutton Parker is top of its game when it comes to a estate agency. And the expectation of both is really, really high. I have a saying at Babylon, we call it, it's not rugby, it's ballet, you know, and every performance is so important. And I've been at Babylon for 14 years. I can't do it all myself, obviously now. My career has grown. As you just saw on that amazing clip you showed then, I'm doing lots of other things. But in a clever way, I'm doing other things because that's for the success of Babylon. If I had just become complacent in Babylon, and I did become UK Restaurant Manager of the Year, which was a massive achievement. You know, I beat 2,000 managers to the award. I mean, mum was in the Langham like that. But, you know, if I went, oh, well, I've won that award would be really dusty now. That was in 2009. And, you know, it's quite humbling to see that footage, because then you've got to get to the next step, you know. Then I have to train my managers, and if you are a senior manager, and I say it passionately, don't be afraid of your weaknesses. I can't open an Excel sheet. I can't, but I've employed Darius, my little geeky number 3, who can, and he does the most amazing spreadsheets. No, but it's true, like sometimes we're afraid to say that I can't do formulas, I can't do this. I've got weaknesses, and I'm dyslexic, you know, and I can say that on a stage in front of a room full of strangers, and you know, and it's quite emotional for me to say, but 5 years ago, I was ashamed of that. I was ashamed I was dyslexic, but I use that to my advantage now, you know, and I'm not afraid to employ people who aren't dyslexic. And one person who's going to come and speak now is Megan. Megan here, Megan was a waitress 2 days a week at Babylon 5 years ago. She came to Babylon 5 years ago. She's studying at the American school, which she'll tell you about. And she was just a waitress. That's what she come to do to get a degree. So it was to fund a degree. And then after a while, I was like, this girl, she told me she was doing a degree in communications and marketing. So I got a work experience at my PR agency. I said, well, if that's what you want to do, babes, let me try and help you with that while you're doing your waitress, and I can get you some experience in our PR company. That gave her motivation. Then I transferred it into reception because I knew she's got a good look and she'd be a good hostess, and you know, I thought, let's move her over to be a hostess, which was the truth. And then I saw her typing, but I saw her typing on the reception. This girl could really type, you know. And a long story short was Babylon celebrated her 10th birthday, and I had at the time a reception manager that we weren't gelling, the relationship wasn't working, and I had the big boss Richard Branson coming to this party. I had Princess Beatrice and I had everyone coming, and I was thinking, but I haven't got a party organised, and she's not organising me properly because I can't organise it. And this young girl stepped in and turned this party into the most amazing event you've ever seen, because she's very organised, she's got attention to detail, and I then promoted her to reception manager because she's all about the image, she's all about the body language, and I'm just going to have Megan come up and just share a couple of pointers on body language, environment, and the importance of that in our restaurant for a couple of minutes. So Megan.
Okay. That was quite an introduction, thank you. My name is Megan Buffington, and as Peter said, I'm the reception manager for Babylon Restaurant at the Roof Gardens. And actually, it's been about 7 years we've been together. And as Peter said, I started working as a waitress 2 days a week to fund my degree in communications and marketing. And I just fell in love with the industry and the business and hospitality and the restaurant industry. And I decided to use my degree towards that. And I've been manager for about 3 years now. And one thing that we really emphasize in Babylon is body language and with the team. And we have trainings about every 2 or 3 months to refresh the old staff and get the new staff learning about it. And it's probably the most underrated training that employees fail to give, especially in the service industry. And basically, we tried to help staff understand what communication is. And communication is about 7% of the words that we speak, about 38% the tone of your voice, and 55% is your body language. So all your nonverbal cues, the eye contact you're making, the way you're standing, your posture or your bad posture, the way you position yourself when you stand with someone, the micro expressions on your face that you don't even realize you're making, but subconsciously the other person is picking up on. Have you ever noticed when sometimes you have a conversation with someone and you're just not quite sure something about what they said wasn't right? It's a huge subject to talk about. I don't have a few hours to speak to you about it today, but just give you the importance of what we do in Babylon, to the top tips. But if you ever have the chance to get someone in to speak about this with your staff, it's really vital. The first one relates to body language is grooming. Grooming of your staff and grooming of the environment. So anyone who's even been to a restaurant and you see the waitress and she's got dirty hair or dirt under the fingernails, I mean, it's everything. Did you wash your hair? Did you wash the body? Are your clothes ironed? What kind of shoes are you wearing? All of these things, the person is forming opinion about you and about the company, whether or not they trust you to sell their house, whether or not they're confident enough to buy from you. So it's these little things that you really have to, Peter loves to get onto stuff about grooming, but it's also grooming of your environment. So you've got to get into the mind of your customer. The moment they're walking through the door, and what do they see? We do that quite often in the restaurant. You know, Peter tells us to sit down on the seat, and what do you see? And we've got dust there, the window's dirty there. So it's making sure that the environment is groomed as well, because all these cues, you know, people are picking up on, and all these little cues, they're forming an opinion about whether or not they trust you, whether or not they're confident enough to believe in you. The next factor is what we call the likability factor, and it's really getting your customer, creating a connection with them and getting them to like you. It sounds simple, but they did a study actually in the US, and they found that patients were less likely to sue their doctors for a botched surgery if they happened to like them. Yeah, and it's the same when you're in a restaurant. You could go out to dinner with your partner, and the waiter brings the wrong wine, you wait too long for your main course, but you liked him, so you leave him a tip. It's the same thing with when you're selling something. I mean, if they like you, if they create a connection with you, they're more likely to believe in what you're saying, and they're more likely to go for it. And the third point is eye contact. Can't stress, obviously, how important having eye contact with someone is, because that comes along with trust. And a lot of times we don't even realize how little or maybe how too much eye contact we're giving. So it's these little things making your employees aware. And the next one is having open body language. So for instance, you know, open body language conveys confidence, and you want your customer to feel confident in you. They want to buy something from you, or you're going to sell their house. So instead of being like this, having your papers like this, you know, it's being open. It's not pointing at that, but it's having an open hand. And all these little things, they're a lot more important than we realize. And one of the last facts that we stress to the team is smiling. Smiling. So important, especially for the front of house team, for your receptionists. When they're sitting there, they're not on their phones, but they're looking up at the guests, making eye contact when someone walks through the door, and smiling at them when they walk through the door. And when they leave, you know, even if they're just coming in for a chat, you know, you say goodbye to them, you acknowledge them. That is so important, probably the top tip that we stress to the team. I think we've got a good experience. One restaurant, we won't name which one we went to, but it was a beautiful restaurant in London, and we spent a lot of money there. We had champagne, we had a really good meal, we gave a lot of money, and it was a great experience. Everything was great, but as we were leaving the restaurant, the receptionist didn't say goodbye, and it left a kind of a sour note, and it doesn't seem like a big deal, but it's kind of like, you know, we gave them all that money, we spent so much money, we did have a great time, but then they didn't even bother to say goodbye. They were just chatting to themselves at the desk. And so just remember that. So I mean, if you can get someone in to talk to your team about body language and the importance of it, or train someone on the team to train everyone else, they'll start thinking about it, and it really plays a really big role in customer relationships. Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's the very basic point, which is very vital, is the importance of them attention to details, and I always stress that point to my team at Babylon, is attention to detail. Again, in our industry, and again with Stratton-Parker, they're the basics that sometimes can really make or break a deal. Again, going back to Amanda, if she would have got bad service in the bar that night, then we would be £200,000 less revenue in the Big Boss's Bank as far as limited edition this year. So it was really important. Again, some of the final points I'd just like to make is the similarities for managers in the audience today is take time with your staff. Don't underestimate who they are and what they can bring to your business. Take time to have that Nick coffee that I had when I was that little dishwasher 20 years ago, because if I wouldn't have had that coffee, I definitely wouldn't be standing here today in the successful position I'm in. So that basic, having a coffee, communicating to your teams, having one-to-one, seeing what they're about, what makes them tick. And as you grow up the ladder as well, I mean, I'm at more senior level now, and my job, and one of the most important things I create in order to be here today, I've obviously got a new Peter at Babylon doing the job. So they'll never be me, but you can give them 90% of you, you know what I mean? Yeah, let's be honest. I don't want my assistant standing there talking to you. I'm joking. But it's important. I see myself as a big vitamin pill. That's what I am, you know? My job, Babylon is sitting there, we're going, well, they're trying to get a lot more than I want to give them a new budget year, but in next year we're going for more than 4 million, and we'll never achieve them revenues if we don't have the team in place to do it, and that comes from me. And that comes from you as managers. Don't always expect to be the next man or lady up. Do it yourself. Take the responsibility in your offices. If you're in your own little estate agency office, make it a fun environment. Make the team you have part of the business. Every single manager I have, including Megan, all started at base level. They are the culture of my restaurant. Every manager, that's my success. You know, the money I make is really important, but my biggest success is seeing these kids grow and becoming Babylon and becoming Virgin and becoming part of the business's future. And every manager in this room today has that responsibility, and I passionately believe that. That make your number twos, number ones, and keep it growing. Engage in charities, and I'm not saying like to give money, but as I was saying before, engage with the community. Right now there's over 1 million kids unemployed in the UK, and I'm sure some of them would love an opportunity to come and spend a day with it. It costs nothing. It costs absolutely nothing. It takes you as a manager to take 10 minutes to call me. I'm more than happy to give you the contacts. Get them into Stratton-Parker. Give them back the carbon that really does have a big effect. In Virgin we call it Screw Business as Usual, and I think they showed the picture of it before. Richard's book, Screw Business as Usual, is amazing, and it really shows how a business like Stratton-Parker can stay ahead of the game and really do simple things that make a huge difference. And I don't want to sound corny because it's about money, but if you do business a bit differently, you can't do it like we used to do it anymore. The world's changing. And my team in Babylon, we've raised £1.5 million in 10 years. And when I went to Africa once in 2006 with Richard, I went on a charity trip just to see what they were doing down in South Africa. And I saw a little boy, he was 9 months old, lying in his own urine, dying of AIDS. And I went back to my restaurant and was telling my team, and I said, what can we do? You know, simple. We created a cocktail called the Red Edition, which is a champagne cocktail with hibiscus flower, which was the team's idea. And £1 from every cocktail went back to this charity in South Africa. And I went back in 2009, and that same little boy you saw the picture, he ran to me, and it was little Prince, who's now got antiviral treatments and is now healthy. But the special thing about that is that my team, these waiters and chefs and receptionists, are part of that. And it actually, retains your staff because they're doing something special, and creates a healthy bottom line in our restaurants and massive profit. I don't want to bore you. I just want to say I think there's a lot of similarities between being an estate agent and being a restaurant manager. And well done to all of you as well, and thanks for having us today. Thank you.